Welcome back to America Right Now. Critical race theory. It's become a catalyst for action by parents and lawmakers demanding the ability to wrest control of government-run schools away from leftists. A high school English teacher working in the Salinas, California school district noticed many of her students, all Latino, were failing one of their other classes, ethnic studies. She wondered why. What she found out those kids were learning was shocking. It's the subject of our Taking Back Our Schools segment this week. Joining us is Fontanilla, high school teacher for the school district of Salinas, California, and Matt Beienburg. He is the director of education policy at the Goldwater Institute and is also helping her tell this important story. Kali, I want to start with you. In this sad environment that we live in today, you took a great risk exposing this, but you felt parents had a right to know that this was in the curriculum. When you investigated, what did you learn?
Well, I want to make sure that we let America know that the mainstream news organizations, a lot of them are lying to the American people that critical race theory is not in our schools, and they should be held accountable for their dishonest reporting, because it absolutely is in our schools, and it's becoming more and more prominent. I was noticing that my students, I teach the English language learners, and of course, we were teaching online for a year and a half, and imagine teaching English language learners online and how difficult that already is for them. And I noticed a pattern because I have them check their grades. We have a homeroom class, and I have them check their grades in all of their other classes. And I was noticing a pattern of a lot of Fs in ethnic studies, especially among the boys. And I would ask them, why are you guys failing your ethnic studies class? And they would tell me, this class is so dumb. And I luckily had access to the same platform as the teacher that was teaching this class at my site. Mm-hmm. And I got to see all of the lessons, and I was completely shocked by what they were teaching the students. Ethnic studies is not the study of other cultures. It's the study of leftist wokeism.
Yeah, CRT is referenced in the district's ethnic studies syllabus, stresses students will study intergenerational trauma, the so-called 4 Eyes of Oppression. The course included a privilege quiz and activities for students to help create an intersectional rainbow. Matt, over to you. What is your advice for parents whose kids are being force-fed this leftist brainwashing?
Yeah, it's to not accept it. As Kali said, we're seeing it's just a completely disingenuous narrative from the teachers' unions, from the media that are bent on telling everybody this kind of content isn't being taught. And I think stories like hers blow this wide open and show absolutely it is. So the advice is for parents to say, you don't have to stand there and listen to what they're telling you. You can take steps. You can find out what's going on in your classroom. We at the Goldwater Institute are actually working to help craft legislation that's now taking off across the country to provide online access, curriculum transparency for parents to be able to see exactly what sort of content is being taught in their classrooms. So when stuff like this shows up, they can know about that in advance and not have to just take the word from the teachers' unions. Right. That everything that's being taught is appropriate and that there's nothing here to see.
Kali, the kids are really impressive here. I mean, yes, they were failing the class, but it seems to me they were failing the class because they were being taught that they were victims or oppressors, and they sort of instinctively disagreed with the material. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. Yes, the thing is, you can't speak up against these lessons. If you do in class, you will get labeled as, white supremacist or racist. I've had so much attacks since I've been publicly speaking up about this. I mean, I will not be able to get another job at a public school again. I know that there's teachers across the nation who feel like they cannot speak up because they will have their job threatened if they do. Luckily, I am opening up my own school. It's called Exodus Institute. It will be online, K through 12 school for all of America's kids, for people that want to pull their kids from these public schools and give them another option. They can check it out at thinkexodus.org. But yes, my students were not enjoying this class. I will say there was a few, of course, because they are being brainwashed into this doctrine. But the majority of them did not understand why they were forced to take this class. It was a graduation requirement.
It's just so fascist that you spoke out on this. And you had to move. You had literally lost your job and you had to move. Matt, kids in California are going to be forced to take these classes under a new law. Does any of this violate the Civil Rights Act, for instance? Or is there any kind of legal recourse, do you think, for parents?
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear that the spirit of the Civil Rights Act, the U.S. Constitution, I mean, teaching that we should be discriminating based upon race is clearly antithetical to everything about this country. And yet we're seeing this effort, this critical race theory that pushes this ideology. And so that's why you have seen states step up and say, you know what, we're not going to have our public schools and our state employees teaching this. Now, obviously, in places like California, where they're going out of their way to push it, that's where, as Kali said, it's essential that parents recognize that they have options, and in those states to make sure that we're going to tighten those safeguards for parents and say, we're not going to let you teach this, and we're also going to make you disclose what it is that you're teaching so that parents can see it, they can know it, and they can avoid it.
Well, I want to thank you both for your courage, particularly you, Kali Fontanilla and Mac Beienburg. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your story with us.